Hello, friends. How are you? I hope you're well. Today's video is a Friday flip, and it's actually going to be a story I read called The Little Match Girl by Hans Christian Andersen. And I was kind of inspired to reread some Hans Christian Andersen after listening to somebody I've discovered on YouTube, a newer gal named Softly Marie ASMR. And I'll put a link to her channel. I kind of discovered her late one night, a couple months back. And I love accents, and she's from Denmark. She is Danish, and so she's got a little bit of that clipped, awesome accent. Anyway, I love her channel. I love how she speaks. I love her topics. I fall asleep, but that's good. Anyway, she was doing some reading from Hans Christian Andersen, who is also Danish. And even though I fell asleep and didn't hear it, it stuck in my mind that she had done that. And I was reminded about his collection of stories. Now, the thing about Hans Christian Andersen is his stories don't always end happily ever after in the traditional sense. The protagonist often doesn't make it, passes on. But in that passing on, there are lessons. There is a transcendence that really makes you look at your morals and ethics. So, I had The Little Match Girl, so I thought I'd read that to you. And so if you're young, just know that this isn't one of those traditional happily ever after stories. It's a little sad. And life sometimes is a little sad. Not everything is a storybook, picture, perfect world. And so I think this actually helps us open our eyes to be more compassionate people. A little bit about Hans Christian Andersen. I looked it up real quick, and he was born in Denmark in 1805, and he was the son of a poor shoemaker and an illiterate washwoman, or like housemaid type person. His childhood was full of both imagination and hardship. His father would read him stories, and little Hans often created puppet shows to entertain himself. And even though he grew up with very, very little, he carried a great love for books and stories. He dreamed of being on stage, wanting to be an actor, a singer, and a dancer. And he did try. But it was his writing that eventually carried his name all over the world. He wrote novels and plays and poems, but it was his fairy tales, those tender, simple, yet profound stories, are what made him unforgettable. You probably know more of his work than you're aware. He did The Snow Queen, The Ugly Duckling, The Emperor's New Clothes, and Thumbelina. And it was the Snow Queen that inspired Disney's film Frozen. So each one of his stories carries a certain bittersweet magic, a sense that beauty and sorrow can live side by side. They've been told and retold across the centuries because they speak to the heart, to that gentle place inside of us. So today I'm going to read The Little Match Girl, and it is very tender and very heartbreaking. It first appeared in 1845 and has since touched readers with its simplicity and its sadness. I wish I could see without my glasses. Maybe someday. So this is The Little Match Girl by Hans Christian Andersen, illustrated by Rachel Isadora. It was late on a bitterly cold New Year's Eve. The snow was falling, and a poor little girl was wandering in the dark, cold streets. She was bareheaded and barefoot. She had, of course, had slippers on when she left home, but they were not much good, for they were so huge. They had last been worn by her mother, and they fell off the poor little girl's feet when she was running across the street to avoid two carriages that were rolling rapidly by. One of the shoes could not be found at all, and the other was picked up by a boy who ran off with it, saying that it would do for a cradle when he had children of his own. So the poor little girl had to walk on with her little bare feet, which were red and blue with the cold. She carried a quantity of matches in her old apron and held a packet of them in her hand. Nobody had bought any from her during all the long day, and nobody had even given her a copper. The poor little creature was hungry and perishing with cold, and she looked the picture of misery. The snowflakes fell on her long yellow hair, which curled so prettily around her face, but she paid no attention to that. Lights were shining from every window, and there was a most delicious odor of roast goose in the streets, for it was New Year's Eve. She could not forget that. She found a corner where one house projected a little beyond the next one, and here she crouched, drawing up her feet under her. But she was colder than ever. She did not dare go home, for she had not sold any matches, and she hadn't earned a single penny. Her father would beat her, and besides, it was almost as cold at home as it was here. They had only the roof over them, and the wind whistled through it, although they stuffed up the biggest cracks with rags and straw. Her little hands were almost stiff with cold. Oh, one little match would do some good. If she only dared, she would pull one out of the pocket and strike it on the wall to warm her fingers. She pulled it out. Whoosh! How it sputtered and blazed. It burnt with a bright, clear flame, just like a candle when she held her hand around it. Now the light seemed very strange to her. The little girl fancied that she was sitting in front of a big stove, polished brass feet and handles. Now the light seemed very strange to her. The little girl fancied that she was sitting in front of a big stove with polished brass feet and handles. There was a splendid fire blazing in it and warming her so beautifully. But what happened? Just as she was stretching out her feet to warm them, the flame went out, the stove vanished, and she was left sitting with the end of the burnt match in her hand. She struck a new one. It burnt, it blazed up, and where the light fell upon the wall, it became transparent like gauze, and she could see right through it into the room. The table was spread with a snowy cloth and pretty china. A roast goose, stuffed with apples and prunes, was steaming on it. And what was even better, the goose hopped from the dish with the carving knife sticking in his back and waddled across the floor. It came right up to the poor child, and then the match went out, and there was nothing to be seen but the thick black wall. She lit another match. This time she was sitting under a lovely Christmas tree. It was much bigger and more beautifully decorated than one she had seen when she peeped through the glass doors at the rich merchant's house this very Christmas. Thousands of lighted candles gleamed under its branches, and many-colored pictures, such as she had seen in the shop windows, looked down at her. The little girl stretched out both her hands toward them, and then out went the match. All the Christmas candles rose higher and higher till she saw that they were only the twinkling stars. One of them fell and made a bright streak across the sky. Someone is dying, thought the little girl, for her old grandmother, the only person who had ever been kind to her, used to say, "When a star falls, a soul is going up to God." Now she struck another match against the wall, and this time it was her grandmother who appeared in the circle of flame. She saw her quite clearly and distinctly, looking so gentle and happy. "Grandmother," cried the little creature, "oh, do take me with you. I know you will vanish when the match goes out. You will vanish like the warm stove, the delicious goose, and the beautiful Christmas tree." She hastily struck a whole bunch of matches, because she did so long to keep her grandmother with her. The light of the matches made it as bright as day. Grandmother had never before looked so big or so beautiful. She lifted the little girl up in her arms, and they soared in a halo of light and joy, far, far above the earth, where there was no more cold, no hunger, and no pain, for they were with God. In the cold morning light, the poor little girl sat there, in the corner between the houses, with rosy cheeks and a smile on her face, dead, frozen to death on the last night of the old year. New Year's Day broke on the little body, still sitting with the ends of the burnt-out matches in her hand. Oh, she must have tried to warm herself, they said. Nobody knew what beautiful visions she had seen, nor in what a halo she had entered with her grandmother upon the glories of the new year. What this makes me think about is the invisibility of the poor. How easy it is not to see them or their suffering, to be caught up in our own issues, our own problems. I know that's true for me. And I would think, for me, more kindness to those less fortunate when I'm presented with something like that. I think I do pretty well, but there's more that I can do. I hope this story spurs empathy and compassion from us as we think about others less fortunate than ourselves. And there is always someone less fortunate. It's easy to get caught up in wanting more of this and more of that stuff. If I only had this, if I only had that. I want this toy or that toy, or this appliance, or this kitchen doodad, or that newfangled thing, or a new car. Sometimes you need a new car, I get it. But it's easy in this day and age to get caught up in the wanting of more and not being grateful for what we have. And it's okay. It's okay to have more. But I think we need to keep in mind those who we can do more for. We have some friends getting married this weekend, and we're going to the wedding. And on the invitation, I noticed there was no registry or discussion about where to get a gift for them and what they wanted. And so I sent an email, where's your registry? And I got a beautiful email back, and I'm just so touched by this. And he said, because it was the husband-to-be who answered, he said, we have everything we need. Please make a donation to a local food bank on our behalf. And so I did that. I made a donation to the Montgomery Food Bank, which is local here in Texas, Montgomery, Texas. And I thought, what better way to share than by helping to provide food for those who need it. So, good on them. And it doesn't have to be huge things we do, but more little things that can make a huge difference when all combined. So, parents, I hope you talk to your children about that. And children, if you're listening, I hope you think about this as you come into the holiday season and you're bombarded with commercials of toys and things you think you need. So, I'm going to leave you with that. I know it was a little on the heavier side, but I hope it was thought-provoking and perhaps even a discussion starter for parents and children, or aunts and uncles or cousins, whatever. So I'm going to sign off for now. Do check out Softly Marie ASMR. She is a wonderful voice in this ASMR community. And I just think that you will like her as much as I do. So, take care, my friends. I wish you well. I wish you peace and love, happiness, and I wish you enough. Satisfaction with enough. I'll see you very soon in the next video. Goodbye for now.